About 2 months ago, the words podcast, influencer, content creator, comedian moved out of the YouTube and Instagram realm and was splashed all over the mainstream media with prime-time debates ranging from morality to where to draw the proverbial line.
In the name of content creation, perverted, vulgar, dirty comments, dirty videos, dirty so-called humor which is not funny is all being promoted, and this has been going on for the last few years.
The Supreme Court has refused to release the passport of Ranveer Alabadia. Alabadia, a content creator and influencer, is being investigated for his sex and parents' remark on Samay Raina's India's Got Latent show.
Our digital universe nowadays only wants the hits, and there are enough people encouraging all of this.
Controversial YouTuber Samay Raina has been confronted. He leaves from the cyber cell. He was summoned in India's Got Latent case. He was questioned for 6 long hours at the state cyber headquarters.
See, I think brands have always been there.
We had a confirmation from our brand and they, pulled out of the deal because we had a certain guest on our podcast 4 years ago, and that was not something that they wanted to get associated with.
That's why in the digital medium, content creation is another word for certified trash.
These incidents are among reasons that have had a very sobering effect on the influencer economy. In fact, it's undergoing a quiet reset. What was once a spend-heavy space dominated by marquee names is now seeing brands reassess and reallocate budgets with a sharper eye on returns. Once the realm of limitless budgets and extravagant partnerships with top-tier brands, the influencer landscape is facing a new reality, one filled with caution and calculated spending. So what is really happening behind the ring lights and cameras? Is there a dip in deal flows? Are creators going to opt for more safe content? Are brands going to shy away from edgy creators? How is true influence going to be measured? How realistic is it for creators not to be dependent on brands? Is the Ranveer Alabadia gaffe turned massive controversy the flashpoint that has led to a correction in the oversaturated influencer economy? Stay tuned as we delve into all of this and much more. It's Thursday, April 3rd. I'm your host, Diya Rekhi, and you are listening to The Morning Brief from The Economic Times. My colleague and fellow TMBN Apurva Mittal and I spent a lot of time speaking to creators and other stakeholders to understand exactly what was happening. Now, just to state the obvious, the space has exploded. According to a report from an influencer marketing intelligence platform, the total number of influencers have shot up from 962,000 in 2020 to 4.06 million in 2024. Just for reference, that's a 4x growth. And India's influencer marketing sector is projected to reach 3,375 crore rupees by 2026, growing at a CAGR of 18%. Now let's be clear. It's not like this quiet reset happened overnight or right after this controversy. The change has been unfolding over the past few years, but recent developments have hastened it, be it an explosion of creators across almost every niche, shifting algorithms favoring creators of different sizes, as well as controversies that have made brands more risk-averse and ROI-focused. Aman Garg and Pankhuri Harikrishnan are among India's busiest talent managers who probably handle some of your favorite creators. I wanted to start off by asking them about what they feel has shifted post the India's Got Latent controversy. Here's Pankhuri.
I think there are lots of self-restrictions, I would say, that creators are putting on themselves just to be on the safe side. They were okay all along. Everybody's re-looking at them again, ensuring that everyone's aligning to sensitivities and ensuring they're not crossing any obvious lines. For creators, this is their bread and butter, this is their business. And what's happened is pretty scary. So, very clearly, I think everyone's more careful.
Creators getting more careful is understandable considering the visceral reaction that came with the whole episode. But what about brands? Are they being more careful too?
See, I think brands have always been careful. I think they may be more vigilant now, but they've always been careful because even, when we are approached by brands saying, can you give us a list of creators who can work on, a particular brief? They go through a lot of due diligence. In any case, they do. And they are very, very careful about, of course, who they associate with, which has got a lot also to do with who kind of resonates with their brand value. So that is a caveat they anyway put. But I think brands have always been very careful about what is the tone of voice that is being taken, what are the, what is the language that somebody is using, how some brands may also have a mandate on how someone may dress so as to they are not antagonizing their audience who the brand is trying to reach out. So brands have always been careful.
So, has the scrutiny on content increased significantly?
Yes, of course. See, obviously, when something blows up, then everybody tightens their buckles, right? You want to be doubly sure. So, of course, the scrutiny has been a lot more, and there's a lot of vigilance from everyone's side. So, yes, it may have amped up, but I tell you, creator economy has always been such where while brands may give their mandates, they always leave the last bit to the creator to say, now it's your creative input that we will leave it to. Right? That's really the beauty of the creator economy. It's not an ad that you're directing literally. I mean, you're using their platform to reach out to their audience who are already used to or like what that creator is putting out, right? So normally the way it works is there will be a brand. First, they've identified who they want to go with, and once they've identified and they've given their do's and don'ts, which are more also, about okay, make sure this is how the logo looks, make sure this is how the tonalities, make sure even sometimes, like I said, we get briefs on, make sure you're looking like this or whatever else, and most people are very happy to go along with, right? So that has always been the case from brands, but I think now that final check of, are we making sure that this is not so-called offensive in any way, definitely the surveillance has gone up.
Nothing describes this better than the experience that Aman had to face with one of the brands they were working with.
We saw major brand that I'd not be comfortable to name them, but we had a confirmation from our brand and they, pulled out of the deal because we had a certain guest on our podcast on one of the channels that we managed 4 years ago. And that was not something that they wanted to get associated with.
But what was so wrong with that video? What was the reason the brand gave to pull out?
So it was a video with a comedian and there was some cuss languages that was there, and that is why the brand didn't want to sponsor us and take forward the brand deal. And there were certain instances in people that we manage in the infotainment section where the creator's image and the creator's content were clean, but brand simply put us on hold because they didn't know where influencer marketing or influencers would go. So that was the case back in February.
How did Aman and his team spring into action to help the 60 plus creators that they worked with through this period? Well, the answer is diversification, diversification, and more diversification.
So the first reaction was to expand into more categories and niches, right? Someone who's close to comedy or someone who's close to that has a funny angle or an angle that may get offensive should open up more categories within them. They should expand to more fields such as vlogging, for example. Right. Then we recommended our creators to get onto more platforms, not just the primary platforms that they use. So we, in fact, recommend people to get on board and go ahead and upload on Facebook and Snapchat as well, right? So I think Instagram and YouTube are the major platform, but Snapchat and Facebook are much underrated, and that's what we suggested, that expand the category, the niche of your content, and expand and explore all the platforms that are out there.
They aren't stopping there. They're going ahead to build their own full fledged businesses because of this unpredictability.
There's a certain lack of predictable income with creators, right? Sometimes they can make, like, for example, 15 lakhs a month. Sometimes they'll make only 3 lakhs a month. So the difference is huge, right? That depends on their engagement cycle, and maybe if there's a hit on the market, like an external factor, right? In terms of expanding the revenue options, creators are now launching their own brands. They're now looking forward to becoming businesses within themselves. So launching their own products on top of their existing YouTube channels and building their own businesses.
In line with that, there's another interesting trend that Aman pointed out about how creators were focusing on in person, tangible experiences. Hear it from him.
I think everything that is physical has more tangible value to it, be it fans, be it people who are watching us. So there's a shift in the experiential thing that the creators are doing more meet and greets. Even some are creating their own experiences and design. Like creators are now starting to travel with their fans, right? So 20, 30 people come together along with the influencer and they make travel plans. That is something that is a very upcoming category that we're seeing.
But let's get to the meat and potatoes, shall we? Are brand deals really down? Aman said that while there was a dip, there has been an uptick lately. But for other creators like the ones Pankhuri manages, no one really had to break into much of a sweat.
Honestly, we have much younger talent and very, if I mean, sorry, loosely put, they are non-controversial talent. They're very, simple, easygoing talent, Gen Z, etc. We've not seen that impact. We've not seen that impact, but I am assuming that this will impact, and I'll tell you, possibly the ones who are more vocal, the ones who are possibly unhinged on their platforms, who have a certain point of view, and maybe people are kind of scared to dip into them at the moment, given the sensitivity around. That's completely possible. But I don't think it will impact the entire creator community. Like, I don't see, for instance, would this impact, say, someone who's doing food or someone who's doing fashion? I don't think so. Unless and until someone's got really strong viewpoint or very strong way of being, etc., people may want to stay away from them right now before they can suss out the environment. Also, I feel like the brands, they're wanting a lot of Gen Z creators to talk because there is that shift. People want this generation to talk to themselves because Gen Z only understands Gen Z.
Does it all then boil down to the personal brand of the creator?
The personal brand that you have built for yourself on your own platform, it may at this point become slightly stressful if people have seen you as having viewpoints that may become an issue at this point, right? A lot of the brands in the past, I tell you, have loved people who have a point of view that is different and unique. Brands have gone and said, listen, we want this. And even if someone some point has been controversial, they're okay because they're like, listen, this person is authentic. We've had brands who've come and said that, and a book talent. We understand sometimes they may be, on the edge and maybe here or there, but we'd like for them to associate with the brand. I feel like those may, for this time being, be slightly cautious.
We've spoken about diversification, we've spoken about in person experiences, and then there's a lot more that creators are exploring to be less brand reliant, like launching their own businesses, for instance. But how realistic is it for creators not to be dependent on brands?
I don't think that's realistic. So I think the entire creator economy is hugely dependent on the brands, right? So it's very clear they've built platforms for themselves where they have a certain following that likes the kind of content they put there, which makes them creators. How do they monetize their creator platform? Is by actually having brands that can kind of come on board and pay them for the same kind of content that they could put out to their audience on in their own spaces, because that's how this economy here has unfolded. And I'll tell you that, to give credit to creators, while they have been doing this, they also push back brands in a huge way, saying, hey, listen, this is my platform, I know we are collaborating, but the last word is going to be on me on how I want this to show up on my platform. But are they going to be able to move away from that to monetizing in some other way? I feel like there'll be a very few of them. Like, we do see that some creators, the older creators, have moved on to wanting to have their own brands. So they may have moved to being entrepreneurs. Now, that's a different piece. But if you are going to continue being a creator, you are going to need to have a source of income. And that will have to come from brands, mostly.
How much of a creator's revenue really comes in from brands vis a vis things like YouTube ad revenue and so on? Aman breaks it down here.
I'd say for a creator who's doing good on Instagram and YouTube, both, for instance, 60% would be branded and sponsored content, right? Which is the brands paying them to make a integration reel or integrate their products in a YouTube video. And 20-25% would be their YouTube and platform income, right? So Instagram doesn't pay directly, but YouTube does pay you a CPM rate, which is typically 50 rupees to 200 per thousand views on in India, right? So which is lesser than other countries, and that's also dependent on the category. For example, finance is a very high paying category. If someone's getting a million views on a finance video, probably they can make around 3 to 4 lakhs. If someone's making a video on a topic which is more on the entertainment side and reaching masses of people, that may earn only 60,000 or 70,000. So that varies on the category as well. But talking about the split, I think 70% is still brand and sponsor dependent, be it presented by branding, be it a YouTube integration, be it a dedicated reel, be it a YouTube short, right? So that is the most dependent and chunk of money that they make.
With all these controversies, have brands gone back to the drawing board and decided to opt for more results driven and metric focused decisions on where to spend their marketing dollars? Well, it certainly seems like it.
Brands are getting a lot more ROI focused, and that is a good thing and in the larger scheme of things, because if a creator is providing good value to a brand, right? For example, if a brand spending 1 lakh on performance marketing versus 1 lakh on influencer marketing, and if they're getting a much more higher return on influencer marketing because of their the creator's face value, the brand would definitely like to work with the creator in the long term, and they do have a record of their own that they'll mark them as a category A creator, right? Internally. And there's a lot of micro campaigns happening where brand would pick out, say, 100 micro creators compared to 10 or 5 big creators, right? So there's a lot more share of voice that happens through them, and maybe more engaging and more in terms of ROI that they get.
This is also leading to deals taking a lot longer to close, something even those that have not seen a slowdown in deal flows have attested to.
Yes, the brand deals are definitely taking much longer to close now. Now, I don't know that's happening because of episodes that have happened, or that's because it's a new year and basically you have a financial year coming to a close. So a lot of things kind of, move into the next year. So I'm not going to just put everything on the episodes, but I think overall, even brands are re looking at how they want to engage with creators. See, this whole creator economy is also coming on its own. There are lots of things that are happening, from when it started on, when brands were just integrated loosely to how then it became, we started getting a lot of do's and don'ts from brands to even the amount of money that was being spent earlier versus now, has increased multiple folds, which also means that it won't be so simple to just close these deals because I think a lot of the marketing and amplification money has been going into digital. Now it's not like that. There are budgets that are put for digital in the beginning of the year. Then there is scrutiny and understanding of who will do it, how will do it. I mean, we have brands who come to us beginning of the year saying we want an always on program. So, can we identify creators beginning of the year who will be doing X amount of work for us through the year, right? So these are formats that have evolved. It's almost like brand ambassadorship. You understand? Earlier, you could never imagine that is what would happen for creators. You assume that only was the prerogative of the stars, film stars. But that's changed. You've got brands that are onboarding creators at the beginning of the year, going through with them, doing things with them. So I feel like maybe also that is why things may not just close as they used to. And they are definitely slightly more difficult to close now than they were earlier. I don't know if it is directly related to this or just the way the economy has moved.
But does all of this mean that India is going to see the rise of a cookie cutter creator? The kind of creator who isn't being authentic, which is something that really made these breakout stars resonate with people.
No, I don't think so. I think people are definitely going to be, like I said, careful to sensitivities and careful to, the environment that they are kind of creating content in. And, we keep seeing new creators and we keep seeing the old ones coming out with new things is because creators, bring in their personality to their platform, right? The same event can be, for instance, covered by four different people in the same genre of content that they are creating, and you will still see different things because each one brings their unique personality on, and that's why people love to scroll and see different people. Correct. So if it becomes cookie cutter, it's going to be a huge problem because then there is no creativity left. I think this creator, the group, what we call influencer creator, I think they're a very, very creative bunch. And I am constantly finding new talent that is so talented. And, I'm constantly kind of discovering new people with their own unique voices, their unique personalities, their unique approach to content. I think from what I see it as, everybody will just make sure that they don't do something that, that is so obviously off, like in the sense like saying the words they shouldn't or being so blatant about things that, all of us growing up in India know there are some do's and don'ts. So I feel like while they'll keep that in mind, I don't think it's going to be cookie cutter because then where's the fun?
Regardless, there's no denying that a shift is happening. A reset is underway. The content world is introspecting. Some people are taking more time to put out content, others are poring over their scripts for longer, some are getting lawyers involved, brands are spending more time scrutinizing content. A lot is going on, but at the crux of it all is the creator and the path they choose.
There are two kinds of creators. There are those who want to monetize, make money, be famous, go out there and own the world. Then they are working within an ecosystem and you will have to understand the ecosystem. Then there are those who may be saying, listen, I truly don't care to make 1 rupee out of this. This is my platform. I will say what I want to. If you don't like it, leave. Then it's a very different conversation. But you can't be both. I don't think that works anymore.
The fallout of the latent controversy left several influencers and content creators scrambling, with managers saying February was the worst month in terms of brand business, especially for those who do comedy or have scope for comedy in their videos. But others said this dip in deal flows was merely a function of it being the financial year end. They explained that deals generally dry up in February and March, whether or not there's a controversy, because marketing budgets are nearly exhausted at the year end. What isn't being disputed, though, is how this controversy and the noise around it has shaken up the industry, the morale and spirit of creators. The general sentiment was one of worry, creators said, and a reminder that they needed to be sharp and careful about how they package content and be wary of the kind of stories they pick to feature on their shows. The creator landscape in India is a huge canvas, and the opportunity to grow is tremendous. As the dust settles on the latent controversy, deal flows are slowly picking up again. But who ends up bagging these deals is what we'll be watching closely. Thank you, Pankhuri and Aman. It's Thursday, April 3rd. I'm your host, Diya Rekhi, and you were listening to The Morning Brief from The Economic Times. This episode was produced by Vinay Joshi and sound designed by Rajas Nayak. Do share and subscribe if you enjoyed the episode. The Morning Brief drops every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday on a listening platform of your choice. Thank you and have a great day. All clips used in this episode belong to the respective owners. Credits are mentioned in the description.